Good morning all of you. I welcome all the viewers for this video lecture series organized by KSRMCE Kadapa. Myself, Dr. Shakeel Ahamed, working as Associate Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, KSRMCE Kadapa. Today, I am going to enrich your knowledge in the aspect known as factors that affect the plant location. It is one of the important topic of industrial engineering, and it also highlights the knowledge of young entrepreneurs who are very much interested to open their own plant. So blindly we cannot open the organization as and when required. There are certain factors to be considered before you are going to select the plant location. And for the young entrepreneurs who are very enthusiastic to open their own industry, this knowledge is very essential, and I hope this will help the young entrepreneurs in order to open their industry. Now coming to the plant location is considered to be a strategic decision. So there are two aspects, one plant location, another is plant layout. First I am going to make a clear vision about what is plant location and what is plant layout. So there are two basic aspects, one is plant location, another is plant layout. So what is plant location and what is plant layout? Plant location is defined as an area or the place where we are going to erect our industry, whereas plant layout is defined as the machinery, manpower, infrastructure integrated in one place in order to facilitate the production. So we have to focus more on the plant location. Usually plant location is considered to be a strategic decision. Decisions are of two types. One is a strategic decision, that is long run decision, another is short term decision. So what is strategic decision? Strategic decision is those decisions, that is long term decision, which influences the life of a plant for long duration. It may be it takes 20 years or more than that, or sometimes the entire lifespan of the plant is considered as a strategic decision. And the decision taken by strategic comes from the top management. Whereas short term decisions are the decisions that last for a short span of time, that is for 6 months or 1 year or maximum to a possible extent of 2 years. And middle level management and low level management are the people who are going to take the short term decisions. So this is about plant location. Then further after this we are going to enter into the main aspects of plant location, that is what are the factors that affects plant location. So the factors that affect plant location, what is the necessity of reading this is, see, once you erect the plant in one area, then it is not possible for us to change in the near future. And as we are going to invest lakhs and crores of rupees on this plant location in installing the machinery, etc., you cannot alter that in once upon a time. So for that reason, lot of precautions and lot of care should be taken before you are going to select the plant location. So basically, the factors that affect the plant location are divided into two categories. One is primary factor, another is secondary factor. So there are 6 sub-elements that comes in the primary factor, and there are 6 sub-elements that comes in the secondary factor. So let us focus on that one. So what are the factors that comes under primary? So first and the foremost thing is availability of raw materials, then nearness to the market or proximity to the markets, then availability of manpower or labor, transportation facilities, availability of power and fuel, and finally availability of the water is the essential. Basically the 60 to 70% of the impact comes from the primary factors. Then let us focus on what are the factors that respond to the secondary aspects. So in the secondary aspects, again we are having 6 sub elements. We are focusing this on the secondary factors. What are these factors? Then first is suitability of climate, government policies, availability of finance, then competition between the two states, availability of the facilities, and finally disposable of the waste. So these are the 6 sub-elements that comes under secondary factors. So primary factor, secondary factor. Primary factor, we are going to have an impact of around 60 to 70% on the site, and secondary factors influence about 30 to 40% on the slates. The first factor that influences the plant location is availability of raw material. Generally 20 to 30% of the revenue is going to held up in that raw material. So lot of care is to be taken for the raw materials. It is suggestible that before you are going to select the plant location, we have to check what is the availability of the raw material, how much raw material, what is the nearest factor that influences the manufacturing criteria. If raw materials are continuously supplied to the industry, then production is going to get without any hamperage. Usually industries are going to select their location very near to the raw materials. Why? Because raw materials plays a vital role in this one. And then one of the important promising factor of this raw material is transportation cost. If raw materials are readily available and near available to the plant location, then we are going to reduce the transportation cost. Very few examples we can quote. This one is the manufacturing of steel and cement industries depends upon the availability of raw materials only. To quote some examples, we can say iron and steel industry located in Jamshedpur as well as in Bihar, and textile manufacturing industries located in Gujarat and Maharashtra, and then jute manufacturing industry located in the West Bengal. These are the examples we quote. And this is one beautiful example, that is cement industry is located in Kadapa in Andhra Pradesh, as raw material limestone is abundantly available in Kadapa. For that reason, most of the cement plants are located in Kadapa region. That is, availability of raw materials plays a vital role in selection of the plant. So, before we are going to select the plant, it is our responsibility to see that whatever possible extent the availability of raw materials are closely available for the industry, so that it is going to act a promising factor, and we are going to cut the cost of transportation if the availability of raw materials are very near. The second influencing factor that governs the plant location is proximity to the market, or it is also called as nearness to the market. So, production has no value without consumption. Whatever products we are manufacturing, unless and until it is consumed by the customer, then the purpose of manufacturing will fulfilled. Hence, it is a considerable factor that the products which you are manufactured should be sent to the market immediately as per the requirement of the customer. So, here an entrepreneur will have added advantages if he is going to launch his product, or he is going to erect his industry at the place very near to the market. One is, whatever product he is manufacturing, it should be sellable in the market by means of transportation. If the market is very near to the location of the plant, then there is a possibility of cut down of the transportation cost, and there is a possibility for the manufacturer to know the demand of the product, whatever product he is manufacturing, and what is the demand erected by that one, and depending upon the demand he is going to fulfill for that one, and the product can be easily sellable in the market. Or if the products are of perishable type, then damageable type, or some of the factors that makes the product to get deteriorated, in such conditions, if the markets are very near to the location, then you are going to have the advantage of less of the cost. Why? Because during the transportation, if the market is very far, then there is, for example, if it is a fraggable elements like glass and all, there is possibility of undergoing damage, and the cost will be a burden for the manufacturer. Hence, if the market is very near, it is a promising factor for him that whatever product he is manufacturing, automatically it is easily sellable in the market depending upon the demand he erects for that particular type of a product. Then one more thing, important thing is availability, that is the third factor. Availability of manpower is the third influencing factor on the selection of the site. Without manpower, there is no industry. Hence, manpower with technical skills is also one of the promising factor here. Means whatever people we are selecting for manpower, he should have much skills. And for that reason, technical institutions are the institutions where we are going to fulfill that one. So, we are going to select the plant depending upon the most technical institutions and the area where we are going to get the skilled labor with efficient of the cost. And one more important thing is, for example, most of the metropolitan cities have the technical institutions, and we are going to have more number of software engineers. For that reason, all the software companies are being erected in the metropolitan cities such as Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Pune, etc., etc. And one more important factor here to note down is, as most of the software people are available in India, then foreign countries, foreign software institutions, industries are also showing very much interest to start their own plant in the country like India. So, availability of manpower is one of the important source. And apart from that one, stable workforce, skilled person, dedicated workforce and the person who works for the dedication for the industry nowadays is becoming a crucible factor for deciding this one. So, if a industry can acquire these all factors such as skilled labor, wage, much quality workforce with a dedicated workforce, there is every possibility to avoid some of the hurdles for the manufacturing unit such as breakdown, lockouts, then strikes, etc., so that the human being or the manpower can work efficiently for the benefit of the organization. Hence, availability of manpower is one of the promising and critical factor for the location of the plant. The fourth important factor for selection of the site is transportation facilities. Why? Because transportation is the main source in order to bring the raw material from the supplier, and whatever product is manufactured from the industry, it has to reach the customer, to the marketplace. So, transportation plays a vital role in the site selection. Usually, the material which is manufactured or the material that is required is being transported by 4 means of transportation. They are, for example, first transportation through road, transportation through rail, transportation through water, and transportation through the rail. So, these are the 4 means of transport: transportation by road, transportation by rail, transportation by water, transportation by air. So, an efficient plant has to be located such that the transportation cost is low and efficient transportation is suitable. For that reason, if an industry is well connected with all these 4 means of transportations, then it is an easy added advantage for the manufacturer to either bring the material from the sources of supply or else for transportation of the material from his industry to the marketing area. So, we have noticed some of the industries like cement industry or steel industry, they are planning or they are laying the railway track inside the industry itself. What is the reason? Reason is, if they could use this effective rail transportation, they can bring the raw materials such as coal, steel, etc., and that can be dumped inside the industry through the rail, which is lane is right inside the industry itself. Hence, transportation acts a vital role in the site selection. Usually, any manufacturer, he will think of to the best possible extent all the 4 means of transport is available, it is a well and good. Or else, for example, depending upon the type of product, he has to choose the mode of transportation. For example, if it is a shipbuilding industry is mainly constructed at the banks of seaports, where whatever product is manufactured, it can be dumped in the sea and it can be traveled through sea and transport, and it can be shifted to the other places. So, transportation plays a major role in the manufacturing of the criteria. The fifth influencing factor for selecting the plant location is availability of fuel and power. Irrespective of the size of the industry, be it small scale, be it medium scale, be it large scale industry, fuel and power are the essential factors to run the plant. Without a supply of fuel and power, we cannot dream of establishment of any industry. Hence, the role of fuel and power plays a vital in the selection of the site selection. So, the most of the power plants, they are going to erect at the area of the fuel, and as well as for the supply of the fuel and power, continuity should be there. Nowadays, industries are not depending totally on the power supplied by the government. Why? Because a lot of crises, a lot of factors comes into picture. For that reason, an ideal industry has to plan itself to generate their own power supply, so that it will be helpful for the entire plant. No need to depend on the power supplied by the government, as well as if any kind of interruptions occurs and that not hurdle the production. Once the power supply has been deteriorated, automatically entire production comes into halt. All the machineries is going to close, and we are going to enrich a lot of damage for the production, and the cost of manufacturing is also going to get hampered. So, the sites which are having lack of fuel power are not suitable for manufacturing criteria. Hence, the entrepreneur who is going to plan for starting of industry, he has to see that the availability of fuel such as oil, coal, etc., depending upon the type of product, should be abundantly supplied without any kind of interruption, and the power supply should also be generated without any kind of interruption. Basically, the large scale industries like steel manufacturing industry, cement manufacturing industry should not depend on the power supply given by the government. The plan should be made in such a manner that they are going to generate their own sources of supply. Why? Because nowadays technology has been grown to a successful maximal possible extent that we are going to generate our own power, and if possibility is there, nowadays industries are utilizing their own power, more supply of power, and they are going to supply for government also. And even government is also very interested to take the power generated by the private people and subsidize all these things, and they are going to pay for that one. So an entrepreneur can take the advantage of this. Hence, the supply of fuel and power should be in a continuous process or very, very essential for the manufacturing of a plant. Then the sixth and the important and the last factor is availability of water. Availability of water is the last promising factor that influences the site selection. Our reason is, irrespective of the size of the plant, again, maybe a small scale industry, medium or large scale industry, water is very essential. Without water, you cannot dream to open the plant. It is not possible to go for even a small scale industry without the availability of water. And the statistical analysis says that water is very essential for industries like chemical industries, plastic industries, sugar industries, and food processing industries. Why? Because without the usage of water, you cannot move a step ahead in the production area. And the statistical analysis also reveals that for 1 ton of synthetic rubber, it needs 1 lakh gallons of water. For manufacturing of 1 ton of aluminum, it needs nearly 3 lakh gallons of water. And for a ton of rayon, it is consuming nearly 2 lakh gallons of water. This is the importance of water utility. So depending upon the type of the product and depending upon the type of utility, you have to select very good sources of supply of water so that any kind of interruption should not occur during the manufacturing criteria. And to your surprise, one more important factor is the establishment of the paper manufacturing industry. It is to be noted that almost all 90% of the paper manufacturing industries are erected at the banks of a river only. Why? Because abundant supply of water is necessary for them. We are all aware that bamboo is the raw material that is utilized for the manufacturing of the paper industry. And to cultivate bamboo, we need surplus amount of water. We need enormous amount of water. Abundant quantity of water is needed. For that reason, all the water that comes from the rivers of the banks are taken for the cultivation of the bamboo as a raw material for paper industry. As well, it uses a lot of quantity of water is to be required for manufacturing of a paper industry. Hence, it is to be noted that all the paper industries are being erected only at the banks of river. Hence, consumption of water for the necessity of the industry is very essential, and it also acts as a promising factor and very, very important factor and influencing factor for the generation of paper industry as well as other kind of products. Hence, water is a very important factor. Till now, we have highlighted the factors, that is primary factors that affect the plant location. Now, we are going to enrich our knowledge and we are going to focus on the secondary aspects or the factors that affects the secondary. That is, first and the foremost factor that comes under secondary factor is consideration of climatic conditions. So depending upon the type of product, the climatic conditions will differ. For example, each and every climate is not suitable for every kind of product. So there are certain industries like jute industry, chemical industry and textile industry where we need different categories of humidity type of climate. And there are certain industries where depending on the climate it varies. So for example, if you want to manufacture some certain kind of precision jobs or precision type of manufacturing products such as watches, etc., it needs cold climate or chilled climate where the places like Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh are more preferable in order to go for that kind of category of these things. And for example, in order to manufacture textile industry and jute industries, it requires some high kind of humidity, means more kind of humidity is essential in order to manufacture the textile for that. So depending upon the climatic conditions, you are going to plan your organization. As well, I have given the quoted as in the primary factors, shipbuilding industry, you are going to erect only at the banks of sea, because the climatic conditions of the sea is essential for manufacturing of that shipbuilding industry. Likewise, depending upon the climatic conditions, one has to opt their product and one has to select the climatic conditions in order to go for an efficient type of manufacturing. That is the next one. Now coming to the government policies is one of the most important preferable factor that has to be considered for site selection. Nowadays, government is extending its support, it helps a lot for the young entrepreneurs to manufacture their product and establish their industry at rural and backward areas. If any entrepreneur wants to establish his enterprise in a rural area or backward area, then government is creating a lot of facilities and providing a lot of benefits for that entrepreneurs, such as tax exemption is there, tax exemption is there. Then beside that one, they are going to provide subsidies, land subsidies, power subsidies, water subsidies. All these advantages can be grabbed if the entrepreneur is going to establish his entrepreneur in a remote area. Even the Prime Minister of India, Honorable Modi ji, is insisting a lot for the young entrepreneurs to open their industries at the choices of the backward areas, where they want to uplift the rural areas. For that one, employment criteria can be improved. For that reason, government is insisting a lot for the establishment of their industries in the rural background areas. And depending upon the government policies, entrepreneur should know thoroughly what are the policies that are rendered by the government and what are the advantages he can achieve through that government policies. For example, if the entrepreneur establish in his industry, a new industry, then automatically they are providing number of benefits, such as they are providing land free of cost, then subsidized land will be given, taxation will be released, then marketing strategies will be improved. So basically, depending upon all these factors, one has to select the industry depending upon the policies that are supported by the government of government. And these policies may differ from state government to central government. So state government is giving some kind of benefits, and automatically central government is also giving some kind of benefits, such as tax exemption and all. So an intelligent entrepreneur should select his area depending upon the maximum possible extent of benefits that is given by the governments. If an entrepreneur is going to establish his plant in some rural background areas, then that kind of advantage will be achieved for him, and one has to encash that advantages, and he has to go for the establishment of his own industry. Next important factor that has to be an entrepreneur to be considered is competition between the states. So this is a peculiar type of factor to be considered. Why? Because nowadays all the state governments are giving lot of financial benefits, and in order to attract the investors, they are giving some kind of benefits for the manufacturer if they could establish their plant in their own state. In the sense, even in the competition with the states, every government is planning their own strategy in order to attract the investors. We have seen in number of cases where state government, even chief ministers are involved in getting the investors. They are going to foreign tours, and they are trying to attract the investors in order to invest their product in their state. So if the government is providing a very good benefits, definitely an entrepreneur should catch that one, and he should go ahead in order to open his industry in that particular state. And you have to make a clear cut if industry is going to establish, what kind of benefits we are going to get. For example, if you have a, tax exemptions will be there, GST exemptions will be there, and relaxation between the goods taxes will be there, and in some cases exemption of the taxation for tax holidays will be provided for them, and these are all the benefits which we can extract if the industry can be established in that particular state, depending upon the policies rendered by these state governments or this thing. Next factor, important factor to be noted down is availability of facilities. Facilities in the sense, every employee who is going to work in the industry expect some kind of facilities, such as having good education for his children, providing good housing facilities, then hospitalization, providing good medical facilities, as well as you should have some kind of recreational facilities also. It is the responsibility, and it is the prime responsibility of a manufacturer to see that all these facilities are available for the workers. For example, if any of these facilities are lagging behind, for example, if no medical facility is available, his children is not getting good education, then definitely that employer, he always thinks of moving from one industry to another industry. So in order to avoid these things, much better facilities are to be provided by the manufacturer. It is the important responsibility of the manufacturer to see that all the facilities, these are the basic needs that are needed for an employee to sustain in this competition environment. For that reason, it is his responsibility to provide all these facilities. If these facilities are provided, then you can retain their employees for long duration. Employee will not think of moving from one industry to another industry. There is no possibility of of moving from one in another industry. Why? Because he is getting all the benefits that are needed for his family and friends. So for that reason, it is the responsibility to provide all these facilities. And apart from this thing, employer should have maintained good infrastructure, clean environment, good machinery, updated machinery. Besides, you should have the facilities like providing the banking facilities, etc., in the manufacturing criteria, so that the employee is going to work with cool mind, and automatically he can increase the rate of productivity. If he does not have any kind of tensions, automatically he focuses and he keeps in mind in order to improve the productivity of the industry, and automatically if productivity increases, it increases the economical growth of the country. Automatically industry is prosperous, automatically country is also going to be prosperous. The last very important factor that influences the plant location is disposal of waste. It is a very important factor. Why? Because many of the entrepreneurs, they are starting their industry without thinking the last stage of manufacturing, that is disposal of waste. Now government has made such a strong rules that if any of the manufacturer fails to satisfy the disposable waste, means efficient way of disposal is not done through his industry, then there is every danger of closing that industry. So it is the responsibility of the manufacturer to see that the disposables or the waste evaluations of the industry should be maintained properly. It is a prime factor for industries like chemical industry, leather industry, garment industry, that a lot of waste will be evolved from the final stages. Now, it is the responsibility of the manufacturer to see that that waste disposal should be properly maintained. And it is the responsibility of the manufacturer to maintain the ecological and environmental factors. There are certain manufacturing industries, after the manufacturing, they are going to evolve these dangerous gases to the environment, so that pollution of the air will take place. If it happens, then the government is having every right to close the industry. Hence, it is the individual responsibility of every citizen to see that the pollution should be maintained very free. And if it is a cement kind of industries, then lot of pollution. We are seeing most of the cement industries are evolving the dangerous gases. Now, if ESP, electrostatic precipitator, is the element which captures the dangerous gases, if it is maintained properly, then we are going to avoid the pollution. If it is not maintained, then automatically the dangerous gases will enter into the pollution, and it is going to damage the health of the people who are living in and around. So it is the responsibility, and it is the basic fundamental thing to be maintained for a manufacturer to see that his disposables of waste is properly done. If it is not done, there is every danger of getting the industry to be closed. It is going to be a very disadvantage for an industry if he could not maintain his disposables in a proper manner. Now, before selecting the site, one should refer that after the entire manufacturing criteria, what are the dangerous evaluants like unwanted gases, unwanted chemicals, etc., where to evolve this one. He has to take care in a proper manner that after the manufacturing criteria, at the end, all the disposables are maintained properly or not. Treatment should be done for the disposable so that this will not mix in the water and contaminated water is done. If animals will make you use this water, automatically they are in danger. Not only in animals, even the human beings, if dangerous gases are evolved, if they consume that one, there is every danger of perishing their lives also. For that reason, even government has made very stringent laws, very strict laws are being maintained by the government of India to see that the disposables or waste maintained properly, so that nothing will happen for the ecology and environment, pollution is avoided. Summarily, it is concluded, before the selection of a site, the manufacturer or the entrepreneur should maintain all the primary factors that belongs to 6 sub-elements and are the secondary factors that highlight the 6 factors. Keeping in view of all these 12 factors, he has to decide the best site for manufacturing criteria. And if the manufacturer selects an ideal place, then automatically it improves his manufacturing facilities, and we are going to generate a product with cost effectiveness. Hence, it is finally concluded, before going to finalize the site selection, one has to think not only 100 times but 1000 times out all the factors that influences the plant location, so that any kind of hurdles may not occur in the near future. As I told you, it is a strategic decision. Today if you do the wrong decision, it will reflect the entire life of the plant and hurdles will come in the role of the product. For that reason, an effective management to think twice before you select the plant location, so that any kind of problems may not occur in future and the product he manufactures with cost effectiveness. Hence it is concluded that please go through these following factors before you select the plant location. I thank one and all, and I thank all the viewers for their patient listening of this video lecture. Thank you one and all. Thanking. Jai Hind.